Have you ever sat in a room with no noise, no phone, no one around, and suddenly felt uncomfortable? Do you feel like something is wrong when you're alone, even when nothing bad is happening? Why does being with yourself feel harder than being around people who don't even understand you? Imagine this. A man wakes up one day and decides to spend a weekend without his phone, no calls, no social media, no one to talk to, just him in silence. By the end of the first day, he's restless, checking the clock every 5 minutes, pacing and wondering if he made a mistake. It wasn't the silence that scared him. It was meeting parts of himself he had ignored for years. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. This video will show you why being alone feels so hard in the beginning, but why it's the doorway to real strength. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribed. So please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more content that transforms your life in ways you didn't expect. At first, being alone feels like punishment. The noise outside disappears, and suddenly the noise inside gets louder. Thoughts you never noticed begin to speak. Regrets, fears, old memories, everything starts showing up, and there's nowhere to run. Buddhism teaches that this is not a problem. It is the beginning of awareness. The Buddha himself left everything behind to sit in silence. He wasn't escaping the world. He was trying to understand it. And he discovered that true peace comes not from company, but from clarity. But to reach that clarity, we must first walk through the fog of our own mind. Aloneness brings out discomfort because it reveals truth. And truth is often not what we want to see, but exactly what we need. It is in solitude that the real journey begins. Not the journey of distance, but the journey inward, the one we've delayed for far too long. So stay with this series. The beginning may feel heavy, but each step will make you lighter. Let's explore the power of walking alone until it no longer feels lonely, but deeply free. Breaking the illusion you're not missing out. Sit down, dear one. Take a breath. Let's begin. You are not missing out. Yes, I know, the world moves fast. You see in your phone, people smiling, parties happening, trips being taken, success stories, love stories, laughter light. And you're alone, sitting with a quiet room and a busy mind. But let me tell you something that no flashing screen will ever say. What you think you're missing often does not even exist. People are not always as happy as they look. Behind many smiles are tears. Behind loud laughter, there is silence waiting to be heard. The world shows you it's outside, but you live your life from the inside. And that's where peace begins. Many people run from solitude because they fear being left behind. They think everyone else is going somewhere, and they're stuck. But this fear is only a trick of the mind, a whisper that says, "You're not enough yet. Hurry, catch up." But where is everyone going? And what are they rushing toward? You see, most are running in circles, busy but not aware, surrounded by noise but starving for peace, always talking but afraid of silence. In Buddhism, we are taught that the root of suffering is craving. Craving for attention, craving for approval, craving to be included, to be praised, to be seen. But the wise one learns to sit still, and in stillness they see clearly. You are not behind in life. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be, even if it feels empty right now. There's a beautiful Zen saying, "When nothing is done, nothing is left undone." It means when you stop chasing, you start arriving. When you stop comparing, you start living. And when you stop fearing solitude, you begin to understand who you really are. Now listen closely. You might think others are ahead because they have relationships, fame, wealth, or success. But many of them are just good at pretending. They dress up their wounds. They cover their confusion with confidence. They post smiles while crying inside. This is not judgment. This is reality. You're not missing life. You're witnessing it from a quiet seat. And that seat gives you something rare: perspective. Do you know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. But a wise monk once smiled and said, "The only thing you miss when you look outside is what's within." You don't need to escape from yourself to be complete. You don't need to be where the crowd is to be valuable. You don't need 100 people to clap for you to know your worth. The truth is this: you're not behind. You're just ahead in a different way. The moment you learn to be alone, truly alone, not lonely, but alone, you are doing something most never dare to do. You are meeting yourself without distraction. And that's brave. That's beautiful. You're not weak because you're alone. You're wise because you chose truth over noise. In the beginning, it feels like the world is spinning without you. You scroll and see others shining while you feel stuck. But remember, those who shine the brightest often burn out fastest. The candle that stays in still air lasts longer than the one dancing in the wind. Let me tell you a small story. There was a young man who came to a Zen Master and said, "Master, all my friends are successful. They travel, they laugh, they post pictures. I feel left out. I feel behind." The Master smiled and gave him a glass of muddy water. "Drink," he said. The man shook his head. "It's not clean." The Master nodded. "Wait." After an hour, the mud settled to the bottom. The water became clear. "This is your mind," the Master said. "When you are still, the truth becomes clear. If you keep shaking it, you'll never see." In the world, people are constantly shaking their lives. Running, posting, impressing, but they cannot see. You, sitting in stillness, are learning to see. So no, you are not missing out. You're finding something far more rare. Yourself. Think about it. When you go to sleep at night, are you lying next to likes and comments? No, you're lying next to your thoughts. When you face a hard moment, does a crowd help you feel calm? No, your inner peace does. When you close your eyes, you return to you. The noise of the world fades. The crowd disappears. And only one person remains, you. That is why learning to be alone is not just a phase, it's a foundation. If you can't enjoy your own company, why should anyone else? Solitude is a mirror. It shows you everything, your fears, your beauty, your forgotten dreams, your real self. And once you face that mirror without flinching, you become unshakable. So stop thinking you're missing out. Start seeing what you're gaining. You are learning patience. You are building discipline. You are training your focus. You are calming your emotions. You are growing your wisdom. You are finding joy that isn't borrowed from others. This is not easy, but it is worth it. The people who run from solitude never get to meet themselves. They live through opinions, trends, distractions. But you are choosing the path of truth. It's a quiet path, a slow path, but it's the only one that leads inward. Let go of the illusion. Let go of the pressure. Let go of the lie that you are behind or that life is passing you by. Life is not out there. Life is in here. Sit still, dear one. Watch your breath. You are not missing anything. You are finding everything. And the best part? What you find alone, no one can ever take from you. That is the beginning of true power. That is the root of unshakable peace. That is the quiet strength of solitude. Stay with it, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts, because on the other side of pain is clarity, and on the other side of clarity is freedom, and that freedom is already waiting inside you. Now go, sit, breathe, and remember, you are not behind. You're not missing out. You are right on time. The silent storm, facing yourself without distraction. Sit down, just sit. No phone, no music, no TV humming in the background. Just you. Now tell me honestly, how do you feel? For many, silence feels like a storm. The moment we remove the noise outside, the noise inside rises. And it doesn't whisper, it shouts. Memories, fears, regrets, worries, they all appear like uninvited guests. And the strange thing is, they've been there all along. You just didn't hear them because you were too busy escaping. Now, my student, listen carefully. This is the beginning of real solitude. Not the peaceful kind you imagine in your dreams. No, this is the raw, messy, uncomfortable silence. The kind that reveals what you've been hiding from. The storm you never wanted to face. But this storm is not your enemy. It is your mirror. And the mirror shows what is. Not what you pretend to be. Not what others think you are. But what you truly carry in your heart. When people first sit with themselves in silence, they say, "Master, I feel anxious." I smile gently. "Good," I reply. "Now you're finally hearing what has always been there." You see, distraction is the blanket we pull over our soul. But under that blanket is restlessness. And under restlessness, pain. But under that pain, truth. And under truth, peace. The mind is like a muddy lake. When you stop stirring the water, the dirt begins to settle. But in the beginning, it feels worse because you finally see how muddy it really is. That's why silence is hard. Not because silence hurts, but because silence reveals. So what do people do? They run back to the noise. They scroll. They binge. They text. They talk. Anything to avoid the moment they meet themselves. They say, "Master, it's boring to be alone." But boredom is not a lack of things to do. It is a lack of connection to the present moment. When you're truly present, everything becomes alive. The sound of the wind, the rhythm of your breath, the tiny movement of your fingers. Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." But before peace comes, discomfort must arise. This is the test. Can you sit through the storm without reaching for distraction? The modern world is addicted to noise. But noise does not heal. Silence does. Stillness does. And in that stillness, a strange thing happens. You begin to see clearly. You begin to notice your thoughts. Not as commands, but as clouds. They come. They go. You don't have to believe them. You don't have to follow them. You're not your thoughts. You are the one watching them. This is what I teach. Not to fight your thoughts, not to suppress your feelings, but to observe. And in that observation, something magical happens. The storm begins to lose its power. You're no longer tossed by the waves. You're sitting in the middle of the storm, watching the wind, unmoved. At first, this seems impossible. You might say, "Master, I tried. It didn't work. My thoughts got louder." I say, "Good. Let them scream. That means you're getting closer. Just like a room gets messy when you clean out a closet, the mind gets noisy when you finally stop running. But don't run. Sit, even if it's for 5 minutes. Sit with your fear. Sit with your guilt. Sit with your sadness. Don't judge them. Don't push them away. Just breathe and let them pass. There is no enemy here. Only your mind, begging to be seen. And once you see it truly, without resistance, it begins to calm. Because attention is healing. And silence is love in its purest form. You don't have to fix everything. Just witness. Your mind is like a child throwing a tantrum. Ignore it, and it screams louder. Yell at it, and it cries harder. But hold it gently, say nothing, just be there, and eventually it softens. This is the way. Not easy, not fast, but real. People think being alone means doing nothing. But being alone, in truth, is the most active journey you can take. You're diving into your own depths. And the deeper you go, the more treasure you find. But don't expect the treasures to come on day one. At first, you'll find dust, old pain, forgotten memories. But keep digging, keep sitting, one breath at a time. You may cry. Good. That's the body releasing what the mind has carried for years. You may get angry. Good. That's energy surfacing that's been buried. You may feel empty. Perfect. Now there is space for truth to enter. The storm is temporary, but the clarity it leaves behind is permanent. And one day, not far from now, you'll sit in silence and smile. Not because the storm is gone, but because you no longer fear it. You will say, "I know this storm. I've sat with it. I walked through it, and I have survived it." That is the moment when solitude becomes your strength. Not your punishment, not your escape, but your teacher. And that, my dear student, is when you're truly ready to walk the path. Not as someone who hides from noise, but as someone who has faced their own silence and found peace in its center. So tonight, turn everything off. Sit in the dark. Close your eyes. And listen. The storm will rise. But you'll sit through it. Calm, quiet, free. This is the way of the silent warrior. And this path, walked alone, leads to the deepest freedom. Loneliness versus aloneness, the Buddhist perspective. Sit with me for a while. Just sit. There's no need to rush. Breathe gently. Now let's talk. Not with noise, but with understanding. You are not weak because you feel lonely. You're not broken because being alone hurts. This is the beginning. This is the place where many give up, but you came here. That means something. Let me tell you something important. There's a deep difference between loneliness and aloneness. Most people think they're the same, but they are not. They're as different as the sky and the ground. Loneliness is a hunger. It feels like something is missing. It feels cold, like standing outside a warm house looking in. You feel forgotten, unwanted, left behind. It comes with sadness, sometimes with fear, sometimes even with shame. It says, no one is with you. You don't matter. But aloneness, that is something else entirely. Aloneness is not cold. It is warm, like the sun shining on your skin when no one else is around. It is still. It is full. It does not need anyone to complete it. Aloneness says, you are here. You are whole. You are enough. The Buddha knew this. That is why he walked into the forest, leaving behind the world of noise, people, and comfort. He sat under a tree, alone, but not lonely, because in that deep stillness, he discovered something that changed everything: peace. Most people feel lonely because they're never really with themselves. They keep escaping through phones, people, parties, endless talking, scrolling, chasing. But even when surrounded by others, they still feel empty. That's because the real person they're longing for is themselves. Listen carefully. You could be in a crowd and still feel lonely. But you can be alone in a quiet room and feel completely full. Why? Because loneliness is the absence of connection, not the absence of people. Buddhism teaches that loneliness appears when a mind is caught in desire. The desire to be held, seen, praised, understood. These are not wrong, but when we need them constantly, we suffer. And when they're not there, we feel lost. Now look closer. Aloneness, in the Buddhist way, is not a punishment. It's a medicine, a sacred space where the mind meets itself. It's where we see who we are beneath all the noise. It's where we stop performing and start being. Let me tell you a little story. A young monk once came to his teacher and said, "Master, I feel lonely in my hut. I sit in silence, and the silence scares me." The master smiled and asked, "Who is with you in the silence?" "No one," said the monk. "Exactly," said the master. "And yet you feel something, don't you? That is not no one. That is you. Meet him. The next time you sit alone and feel lonely, ask yourself, who is this that feels lonely? Who is watching this feeling? That watcher, that is her deeper self. And that self is never lonely. It's just waiting for you to return." Buddhism doesn't tell you to run from pain. It asks you to see it, to sit with it, to understand it. When you sit with loneliness long enough, it softens. When you breathe with it, it becomes a doorway. The Zen Master once said, "If you are afraid of being alone, it means you have not made peace with yourself." So let's talk about peace. Peace comes when we stop running, when we stop filling every gap with noise, when we sit, breathe, and realize we are enough. This is what meditation is. Not closing your eyes to escape, but opening your heart to see, to feel, to embrace what is. Start small. Sit alone for 5 minutes today. No phone, no music, just you. Listen to the sound around you. Feel your breath. Watch your thoughts. Don't judge them. Just notice. In the beginning, your mind will resist. It will scream for distraction. That's okay. Let it scream. Let it run in circles. But you just sit, and slowly, something will happen. The noise will slow down. The thoughts will settle. And in that space, you will feel something new. Not loneliness, but presence. A feeling of, I am here. I exist. And that is enough. You see, aloneness doesn't mean disconnecting from the world forever. It means connecting to yourself first. So when you go back to the world, you bring your full self, not your empty shell. The Buddha taught us that everything is within. Joy, peace, wisdom, all within. But to find them, you must go through the forest of loneliness first. You must sit under your own Bodhi tree. And you must wait. Being alone will teach you things no teacher can. It will show you your fears, yes, but also your strength. It will break your illusions, but also reveal your truth. You don't have to reject the world, to stop clinging to it. Use solitude as your training ground. Use it to return to who you were before the world told you who to be. Loneliness says, you are empty. Aloneness says, you are full. Loneliness says, you need someone. Aloneness says, you are someone. Which voice will you listen to? Take a walk alone today, not with your phone, but with your soul. Watch the sky. Listen to the birds. Feel your own footsteps. This is meditation. This is connection. Aloneness, once understood, becomes your power. It becomes the place where your real self lives. And from that place, you can build everything: peace, love, purpose. So don't be afraid when loneliness knocks. Invite it in. Sit with it like an old friend. Listen to what it has to say, and then gently watch it leave. What stays behind is your true nature, calm, aware, complete. This is the way of Zen. This is the way of being alone, but never lonely. This is the beginning of your return to yourself. Keep walking. What the Buddha did alone, lessons from the forest. So, you want to understand why being alone feels so heavy in the beginning? Let me take you into the forest. Not any forest, but the one where the Buddha once walked alone. There were no voices, no crowds, no comforting noise. Only trees, silence, wind, and the sound of his own thoughts. Most people think the Buddha gained wisdom suddenly, like magic. But it wasn't magic, it was patience. It was courage. And most of all, it was solitude. Do you know what he did first, before any enlightenment, before any followers, before people called him the Buddha? He walked away from everything. He left his palace. He left his riches, comfort, and even his family. Why? Because the questions inside him were too loud. Why do people suffer? Why is life full of pain? Is there a way out of this misery? The world outside was full of answers that didn't help. So he went to find truth alone. He went into the forest. No phone, no nights, no food sometimes, no one to talk to. Days passed. Nights were long, cold, quiet, painful. But that pain was the fire that burned all illusions. The forest didn't scare him. What scared him was the truth that began to rise from his silence. At first, all the hidden fears showed up, just like they show up for you when you're alone. Fear of death, fear of not being enough, fear of losing everything. But he did not run. He sat. He watched. That's what made him powerful. Not the robe, not the name, but the ability to sit with what most people escape from. You see, being alone is not punishment. It is purification. And in that silence, slowly, the dust on your mind begins to settle. You start seeing clearly, not just the world, but yourself, your patterns, your false beliefs, your wounds. The Buddha saw them too. He faced them one by one. There was no applause. No one clapped when he conquered fear. No likes, no photos. Just trees, just moonlight, just breath. And yet, that lonely silence gave him the strength to face what millions could not. That is the kind of alone you must understand. Not lonely, but deep, strong, awake. He spent years in forests and caves. Not because he hated people, but because he wanted to understand what it meant to truly live. And he learned something most people never discover. You are not your thoughts. You are not your fears. And most of all, you are not alone in being alone. He discovered the truth of suffering. That suffering comes from attachment, from clinging to things, people, titles, outcomes. And solitude? It gently takes those attachments away. It hurts at first, like peeling off a tight shirt stuck to your skin. But once it's off, you can finally breathe. Do you notice how quiet the world becomes when you stop chasing noise? That's what happened to the Buddha. The forest taught him more than any book. The wind became his teacher. The sun his clock. The breath his anchor. Every moment alone became a moment closer to truth. You see, silence is not empty. It's full of answers. But most people never stay long enough to hear them. They get scared. They run back to distraction. But the Buddha stayed. And in doing so, he crossed a river that fear cannot swim. He sat under the Bodhi tree, completely alone. No one told him what to do. No guide. No manual. Only his breath and his mind. And that's when the breakthrough came. After nights of facing everything, his doubts, his pain, his past, he finally saw clearly. Enlightenment didn't come from escaping life. It came from looking at life without running. He could do the same. No, you don't have to go to a forest. You don't need to shave your head or wear orange robes. But you must do one thing: Sit with yourself. No screen, no sound, just you. And when the pain shows up, and it will, don't push it away. Watch it. Welcome it like an old friend who hasn't visited in years. Because that's what the Buddha did. And from that pain came wisdom. From that silence came clarity. From that solitude came freedom. Not the kind you read in books, but the kind you feel in your bones. The kind that no one can give or take away from you. Many ask, why can't I just learn from others? Why be alone? And I say, learning from others is useful, but shallow. Real wisdom is born in stillness. In sitting with the parts of yourself you've ignored. No one else can do that work for you. That's your path. When the Buddha returned from the forest, he was not the same man. His eyes had seen something deeper. He smiled more, not because life became easy, but because he was no longer afraid of it. Solitude had burned away the fear. And what was left was truth, compassion, and strength. You too have that strength. But first, you must be willing to walk alone. Seek quietly. Watch your thoughts. Breathe through the pain. And wait. Not with force, but with trust. The same way the forest waits for dawn. Quiet, still, patient. And one day, just like the Buddha, a light will rise inside you. Not a light anyone else can see, but a light that shows you your path, your truth, your peace. And when that light comes, you'll finally understand why being alone was the most important thing you ever did. So don't fear solitude. Respect it. Enter it slowly, like a sacred temple. Let the silence become your teacher. Let the stillness show you what you've forgotten. You are not weak for being alone. You are brave, because only the brave dare to meet themselves. That is what the Buddha did. Not in a crowd, not on a stage, but in the forest. Alone. And from that aloneness came the wisdom that still lives thousands of years later. If he could do it, so can you. Let the journey continue. Alone but never lost. Mindfulness in solitude, discovering the present moment. Sit down. Breathe. Just listen. You are alone, and yet not truly alone. Can you feel it? The quiet is speaking to you. This is where the real teaching begins. Many people fear being alone. They feel something is missing. They reach for their phones, for noise, for distractions. They think being with themselves means being lonely. But listen closely. Loneliness comes from not knowing how to be with yourself. Solitude, on the other hand, is peace, once you learn how to stay in the present moment. Mindfulness is the bridge. It is the practice of staying with what is real, right now, right here. When you are alone, mindfulness becomes your greatest companion. You don't need someone to talk to. You need to listen to your breath, to the wind, to the sound of your own heart beating. A cup of tea is just a cup of tea, but if you sit alone with it and truly taste it, truly feel the warmth, truly notice the aroma, that cup of tea becomes a meditation. It becomes a doorway to the now, and the now is the only place where life exists. Let me tell you a short story. A student once came to me, his mind full of worry. He said, "Master, I feel so alone. I've been staying by myself. There's nothing to do. I feel lost." I smiled and gave him a bowl of rice. "Eat this," I said, "but do it slowly. Just eat. Don't think about anything else. No talking, no music. Just eat." He looked confused, but he obeyed. An hour passed. When he returned, I asked, "What did you feel?" He paused. "At first, I was restless. My thoughts were everywhere. But then, I just started chewing. I noticed the texture. I noticed how hungry I was. I felt grateful. I stopped thinking. I was just eating. That," I said, "is mindfulness. That is presence. That is the beginning of not being afraid of yourself." You see, when we are around others, we are pulled into the past and the future. What do they mean by that? What should I say next? Am I good enough? Will they leave me? Mindfulness cuts through this. It brings you back to this moment where none of those questions matter. When you are alone, you are given a chance to return to the most honest part of life. The breath, the heartbeat, the wind, the sound of birds, the taste of food, the feel of your feet on the ground. These are not small things. These are the roots of peace. But this practice takes time. In the beginning, your thoughts will resist. They will scream and shout. "This is boring. This is scary. Do something." Don't listen. Just breathe. Stay with yourself. You're not your thoughts. You're the one who sees the thoughts. Another student once asked me, "Master, when I sit alone, I feel pain. Not in my body, but inside. It's like old sadness rises." "Yes," I replied, "because in the noise of life, that sadness hides. In silence it returns. But now you can hold it. You can see it. And slowly it will pass." Mindfulness is not about stopping your thoughts. It is about watching them without fear, without judgment, just watching like clouds passing in the sky. And slowly, something magical happens. You begin to see clearly. You see that you are not broken. You're not behind. You are not less than anyone. You are simply here, alive, breathing. Enough. The Buddha once said, "The mind is everything. What you think, you become." But he also taught that we are not slaves to our thoughts. Through mindfulness, we become the master of the mind. We see that emotions come and go. Pain comes and goes. Thoughts rise and fall. But awareness, the one who watches, remains. When you are alone and practicing mindfulness, you begin to realize the world was never outside you. The real world is inside. Peace is not in the city. It is not in the mountain. It is in the stillness of your own being. So next time you feel afraid to be alone, sit down. Don't escape. Don't reach for the phone. Don't turn on the TV. Just breathe. Feel your breath. Feel your body. Feel the room around you. Listen to the silence. Not as emptiness, but as a friend. Mindfulness turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. Washing dishes becomes a meditation. Walking becomes a dance with the earth. Sitting becomes a reunion with your soul. And here is a secret. When you master being alone with mindfulness, you never feel lonely again. Even in a room full of people, you carry your peace with you. Even in noise, you hear silence inside. That is real strength. That is unshakable peace. The world teaches you to seek more, chase more, do more. But Zen teaches you, just be. Be with your breath. Be with your step. Be with your tea. Be with your sadness. Be with your joy. Nothing needs to change. Everything is welcome. That is mindfulness. So, my dear one, if you're walking alone, don't be afraid. You are walking with yourself. And if you learn to truly be with yourself, you'll discover a treasure no one can take away. A deep calm, a silent strength, a quiet joy. This is the power of mindfulness in solitude. It is not about escaping the world. It is about returning to it with open eyes and a steady heart. It is about knowing that everything you need is already here within you. Now close your eyes. Take one deep breath. Feel it. That is your home. That is you. And that is enough. Letting go of approval, the power of inner validation. In the quiet moments of life, when the world's noise fades, the human heart seeks one thing above all: approval. Approval from others, approval from society, approval from those whose opinions seem to shape our very being. But what if I tell you this approval is a chain, a subtle but strong prison that holds the soul captive? Why do we cling so tightly to the praise of others? It is because, from the beginning, we learned that our value depends on how others see us. As children, smiles from our parents, nods from teachers, and the cheers of friends shaped our sense of worth. Slowly, this external mirror became the only one we trusted. The problem is, this mirror reflects not who we truly are, but who others want us to be. Imagine carrying a heavy sack filled with stones, each stone representing someone's judgment or expectation. Every time you seek their approval, you add another stone. You carry this burden everywhere, in your work, your relationships, even in your moments of solitude. This weight slows your steps, dims your spirit, and clouds your clarity. The path of the Zen is to lay down that sack, to empty it stone by stone. This is not easy, for the desire to be accepted is deeply rooted. But the moment you recognize that your value is not tied to others' opinions, the first stone falls away. And then another. In Buddhist teachings, there is a clear message. True peace comes from within, not from outside approval. When you look deeply into your own heart, you find a light that neither praise nor criticism can diminish. This light is your true self, untouched by the ever-changing winds of public opinion. To let go of approval is to embrace impermanence. You begin to see that others' opinions are like passing clouds, sometimes dark, sometimes bright, but never lasting. They do not define your essence. You learn to stand like a tree, rooted in your own truth, swaying gently with the winds, but never breaking. This does not mean you become indifferent to others or live selfishly. On the contrary, when you no longer seek approval, you act from sincerity. Your actions arise naturally, not from fear or desire to impress, but from genuine compassion and wisdom. You become a source of calm and strength for those around you, simply by being authentic. There is a story of a Zen monk who was asked how he could remain so peaceful despite harsh criticism from others. He replied, "When the wind blows, the bamboo bends but does not resist. It knows the wind will pass, and so it does not cling to it. Like the bamboo, when you let go of approval, you find freedom in acceptance. Acceptance of yourself, flaws and all. The journey inward is not about rejecting others' views, but understanding their place. Other people's opinions are their reflections, not your truth. You learn to listen without becoming attached, to hear without becoming defined. As you practice this, your mind clears. The noise of needing to prove yourself fades. You begin to enjoy your own company more deeply. Solitude transforms from a lonely void into a garden of peace, where spirit blooms freely. This inner validation is a quiet revolution. It changes how you see the world and yourself. You no longer run after fleeting applause. You stand still, knowing your worth is whole and complete. Letting go of approval is a gift you give yourself. It is the release of invisible chains, the discovery of true freedom. In this freedom, you find joy that is not dependent on anyone, anywhere. So, look gently into your heart and ask, whose approval am I seeking? What if I could be whole without it? What would it feel like to stand fully as myself without any mask? In the space of questioning, the seed of liberation grows. Nourish it with patience and kindness. Remember, the Buddha's path was never about pleasing others, but about awakening to his own nature. When you walk this path, you honor your own truth. Each time you feel the urge to seek approval, pause. Breathe deeply. Return to yourself. Feel the quiet strength that does not need to be proven. This strength is yours. It is always there, beneath the layers of doubt and fear. Let go of the weight of approval. Embrace the lightness of your own being. This is the power of inner validation, a power that frees you to live fully, simply, and peacefully, alone but not empty, cultivating inner richness. Sit down, my dear friend. Sit quietly for a while. Let the noise of the world fall away like dry leaves in the wind. You have come far in this journey of being alone. You have faced the discomfort, the restlessness, the longing. And yet, here you are, still breathing, still searching. That is no small thing. Let me tell you something that most people never understand. Being alone does not mean being empty. The world teaches you to chase people, chase validation, chase movement. But the inner world, the inner world is not built that way. It does not open through chasing. It opens through stopping. When a person finally becomes quiet and alone, they often feel hollow inside, like something is missing, like something should be there to fill the space. They try to stuff it with noise, music, messages, scrolling endlessly. But it doesn't work. The emptiness remains. But what if I told you that the emptiness you feel is not a lack, it is space? And space is the beginning of creation. Look at the sky. Is the sky useless because it is empty? No. The clouds, the stars, the birds, they all need that emptiness to move. Look at a bowl. If it were full already, it could hold nothing more. The space in the bowl is its power. You, too, must learn to hold space within yourself. Being alone creates this inner space. And when you stop fearing it, something magical happens. That space begins to invite richness, but not the kind the world offers. This is not about money or followers or titles. It is about deep presence. It is about feeling alive without needing a reason. The mind will play tricks on you. It will say, "You are lonely." It will whisper, "You are nothing without someone to see you." But the mind is just echoing what the world has taught it. You must teach it something new. Start with something simple. Sit quietly and observe your breath. Do not try to control it. Just feel it like waves coming and going. At first, it may seem boring. But wait. Beneath boredom lives peace. Beneath peace lives beauty. You begin to notice things. The warmth of the sun on your skin. The way a bird sings without asking for applause. The stillness of a tree that has stood for 100 years. These things have always been there. But in your rush, you miss them. Now, they return to you. Slowly, gently, like forgotten friends. You begin to feel full. Not because you gained something, but because you stopped running from what was already inside you. Let me tell you a story. There once was a monk who lived alone in the mountains. Every day, he woke before the sun, sat in silence, and watched the mist rise from the valley. A traveler visited him and asked, "Don't you get lonely up here with no one to talk to?" The monk smiled and said, "When I am with others, I hear their words. When I am alone, I hear the voice of life itself." This is the richness of solitude. It is not found in a crowded room or on a shining screen. It is found in stillness, in self-connection, in remembering that you're not a guest in this world. You are part of it. Aloneness is the place where you start to remember your wholeness. From isolation to liberation, the shift of consciousness. Sit down, child. Let the world be silent for a moment. You've walked alone for some time now. At first, your steps were shaky, your heart was noisy, your mind ran in circles. You may have thought you were losing something, connection, comfort, companionship. But now, slowly, something inside you has changed, hasn't it? You see, what you once called isolation is not the enemy. It only felt like one because you didn't know what it was. You believed that to be alone meant to be abandoned. But aloneness is not rejection. It is redirection. It turns your gaze from the world outside to the universe inside. That is where liberation begins. Let me tell you something simple, but very few people understand this. We don't suffer from being alone. We suffer from the resistance to being alone. In your isolation, you are not trapped. You are being invited. Invited to sit with yourself, to see you when no one is watching, no one is clapping, and no one is texting you back. In that space, your real self comes forward, not the one shaped by others, the one born of stillness. Now, you may be wondering, why did it hurt so much at first? The pain was not from solitude. It was from letting go. Letting go of the identities you built for others. Letting go of needing to be seen to feel alive. We were taught to perform, to fit in, to belong at any cost. And suddenly, when you step away from all that noise, it feels like you're dissolving. But here's the truth. What's dissolving is not you. It is everything that is not you. The mask, the role, the labels. When they fall away, what remains is something very quiet, but very strong. That is the birth of liberation. Many people ask me, "Master, how can being alone free me?" I tell them this. When you are alone and no longer afraid of it, no one can control you. Not people, not opinions, not fear, not even the past. That is true freedom. This is not just philosophy. It is the way of the Buddha. When Siddhartha left his palace, he walked alone. He wandered forests, crossed rivers, sat under trees, not to escape the world, but to understand it from within. Only in solitude did he see clearly. And only through seeing clearly was he able to awaken. And you, too, are awakening. Slowly, you are no longer scared of silence. You begin to enjoy your own company. You laugh at your own thoughts. You sit by the window and drink tea, and it feels full, not empty. You walk without needing to be somewhere. You listen, not just to music or people, but to life itself. Do you know what's happening? You're shifting. Your consciousness is changing. The loneliness that once felt like a heavy cloak is turning into a gentle robe of peace. You begin to taste simplicity. You start valuing stillness. And most of all, you start trusting yourself. That is a very big step, trusting yourself. Because when you're always surrounded by noise, you're always looking outside for answers. But in silence, you begin to hear your own voice. Not the voice of fear, but the quiet whisper of inner wisdom. Zen does not teach you to escape. Zen teaches you to see. And what you see in solitude is that everything you were chasing was already within you. Freedom, joy, clarity, purpose. They're not in the next relationship, the next job, or the next achievement. They live in presence. And presence is discovered when the mind becomes still. You may still have days when loneliness visits you like an old ghost. That's all right. Don't push it away. Invite it in. Surety. Listen to what it wants to say. Every emotion, even the heavy ones, are trying to bring you closer to your truth. Don't fear them. Understand them. That's what liberation is not being untouched by pain, but being free within pain. It is when the wind can blow and you are still rooted, when storms come and you remain soft, when the world turns its back and you still smile inwardly, knowing you have not turned away from yourself. People think liberation means running away to a mountain or shaving your head. No, child. Liberation happens right where you are, at your desk, on your walk, in your room, when your mind is no longer seeking but resting, when your heart is no longer chasing but accepting. You've crossed a threshold now. You've seen the other side of loneliness. And what is there? Not nothing, but everything. A quiet joy, a deep breath, a sense of being whole. Not perfect, just whole. And now, something beautiful begins to unfold. You no longer need others to feel complete, but now you can love more freely, more deeply, because your love is not coming from lack. It's coming from fullness. When you meet people now, you don't need them. You enjoy them. You don't cling. You connect. You don't lose yourself. You share yourself. That is a love that does not wound. That is a relationship that doesn't take your peace. This is the shift from isolation to liberation. Before, solitude was a cage. Now it is a temple. Before, you feared being unseen. Now, you enjoy being invisible. Before, you filled your silence with noise. Now, silence is your friend. Can you see how far you've come? This is no small thing. Many run away from themselves their whole lives. But you turned inward. You faced the uncomfortable. You sat through the unease. And now, you are beginning to feel peace not because things got easier, but because you grew deeper. In Buddhism, this is known as nirvana, not a place but a state of mind. The extinguishing of grasping, the inner craving, the freedom from needing everything to be different. You've tasted a drop of it. It may be small, but once tasted, it changes you. And now, every step you take, even alone, is a step of freedom, because you know, true companionship begins with self-understanding. And from that root, all things grow. So keep walking, keep sitting, keep being with yourself. The world outside will try to pull you back into its chaos. But you now carry a calm within. Let that calm guide you. Remember, isolation was the beginning. Liberation is the reward. And the journey is not over. But now, you're walking not as someone escaping loneliness. You are walking as someone who has met it, understood it, and transformed it. You are no longer alone. You are with yourself. And that is more than enough. How stillness becomes strength, the Zen of solitude. Sit with me. No need to rush. Just breathe. Do you hear the silence? That's not emptiness. It is fullness without noise. It is the space where real strength begins. Many people think strength comes from action, speaking loud, moving fast, doing more. But in Zen, we know the truth. Real power is quiet. It does not shout. It does not fight to be seen. It is like a mountain, still, unmoved, yet unshakable. You see, in the world today, people are always running. Running from boredom, from silence, from themselves. Always chasing something. But they don't know this. What they are really running from is their own mind. When you stop running and just sit, something strange happens. At first, you feel discomfort, restlessness. Thoughts come like waves, one after another. I should check my phone. I need to do something. I'm wasting time. These are not your thoughts. They're the voices of a busy world that lives inside your head. In Zen, we don't push them away. We don't fight them. We sit, breathe, and observe. Slowly they pass. Stillness is like a mirror. It shows you who you really are. Not the mask you wear in society. Not the roles you play. But the raw self, pure, present, and real. When the noise inside starts to fade, you begin to hear something else, your inner voice. Not your mind, not your emotions, but your awareness. This awareness is the key to strength. Stillness is not weakness. It is not laziness. It is the highest discipline. Anyone can move fast, but how many can sit still and be okay with everything that comes up? A storm does not destroy a tree with deep roots. Stillness is those roots. Think of the ocean. The surface may have waves, wind, and noise, but deep below, it is calm and untouched. You are like that. The top of your mind is busy, but deep within, there is peace. You just haven't visited it for a while. To reach it, you must go alone. Being alone is not about isolation. It is about returning to yourself. In the early days, it feels painful. The world has trained you to depend on noise, on people, on distractions. Suddenly, all of that is gone. What remains? You. And that's the most powerful thing you can discover. Yourself, untouched by others. Yourself, without needing approval. Yourself, enough as you are. In stillness, you start to notice things. The way your breath moves, the sound of the wind outside, the tension in your body, the patterns of your thoughts. This is mindfulness, not thinking but noticing. And slowly, something starts to shift. You stop reacting. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You simply are. And in that being, you find power. True strength is calm. It doesn't shake when someone disrespects you. It doesn't collapse when things don't go your way. It doesn't panic when plans fail, because it doesn't rely on the outside world for peace. This is what the old Zen monks discovered. In the forest, in silence, they found a strength cities could never give. They could sit for hours, unmoved, while thoughts came and went. People thought they were doing nothing, but inside, they were meeting the whole universe. And now, you are invited to do the same. Sit in your room. No phone, no music, just you and your breath. At first, your mind will scream, "This is boring. What's the point?" Let's scream. Don't fight it. Don't obey it. Just watch. Then it will try to tempt you. Check this. Open that. Smile gently. Let the urge come and go. And then, slowly, it will become quiet. Not forever. Not perfectly. But enough for you to see that you are not your thoughts. You are the one who watches them. From that moment, a new kind of power awakens. You start to feel light. Like you don't have to carry the world on your shoulders anymore. You don't need to argue, to defend, to impress. Your presence becomes strong, not loud. And people begin to feel it. They may not understand it, but they feel something unshakable in you. This is stillness, and this is strength. Even in daily life, this strength shows itself. You speak less, but your words go deeper. You do less, but with full attention. You feel more, but react less. You are no longer a puppet of emotions. You become a master of your own being. You stop seeking energy from others. You create your own. You don't need constant company. You are full within. And when you do connect with others, it is not from need, but from clarity. Stillness also helps you see truth. When you are calm, you see people more clearly. You see what is said and what is not said. You sense energy. You feel when someone is sincere or fake. Not because you judge, but because your own mind has become quiet enough to listen. Now, let me tell you a small story. There was once a young monk who came to the master, frustrated. He said, "Master, I have sat in silence for 1 year, but I feel nothing. No peace, no power, just boredom." The master looked at him and smiled. "Good. Now you are beginning." The young monk was confused. "What do you mean?" The master said, "In the beginning, you meet your boredom. Then you meet your fears. Then your ego. After that, your sadness. Then your desires. If you sit through all of them without moving, you will meet your true self." The monk bowed in understanding. So, dear listener, sit through your boredom. Sit through your thoughts. Don't chase peace. Let peace find you when you stop chasing. Stillness is not an escape. It is a return to who you were before the world told you what to be. You are not empty because you are alone. You are empty because you've been filled with noise. Now it's time to empty that noise and find the real you. You don't need to shout to be strong. You don't need a crowd to feel worthy. You just need to sit, breathe, and be. This is Zen. This is solitude. And this is the strength that no one can give you, because it was always yours. Now close your eyes. Breathe in, breathe out. Welcome back to yourself. Being your own companion, building a relationship with self. Sit down, take a breath. Let the world slow down just for a moment. You've come far on this path. You've walked through loneliness, confusion, and silence. Now we come to something deep, something gentle, yet powerful. Today, let's talk about becoming your own companion. In this world, we are taught how to make friends, how to impress others, how to be likable. But no one teaches us how to sit with ourselves in peace. No one shows us how to become our own best friend. So we search endlessly for someone else to fill the gap. But this gap, it's not out there. It's inside. When you're alone and the noise fades, you begin to hear the soft voice within you. At first, it may be full of doubt, regret, even fear. That's okay. Most people try to run from that voice. But not you, not anymore. You're learning to listen. And that is where healing begins. A flower doesn't ask anyone if it's allowed to bloom. It just opens. In the same way, you must learn to bloom for yourself. Without applause, without witnesses, without needing to be seen. You must become the person who smiles when you see yourself in the mirror. Not because you're perfect, but because you've accepted your imperfections with peace. Being your own companion means noticing your feelings without judgment. When you're sad, you say, "It's okay, I'm here." When you're happy, you say, "Let's enjoy this." When you make mistakes, you don't hit yourself with blame. You offer understanding, just like a kind friend would. In Zen, we often sit quietly doing nothing, but that silence is not empty. It's full of presence, full of awareness. When you sit alone and feel deeply, you're learning the greatest art, the art of being with yourself without running away. This is not loneliness. This is solitude, and solitude is sacred. People ask, but don't we need others? Yes, humans are social creatures. We need love, kindness, connection. But there is a difference between needing and depending. When you depend too much on others to feel whole, you hand over your power. When you learn to be whole by yourself, then your relationships become pure. You love without fear. You give without emptiness. You share joy, not cling to it. Let me tell you something from the ancient Zen stories. A student once asked his master, "What is the way to enlightenment?" The master said, "Eat when hungry, sleep when tired." The student was confused. "Is that it?" he asked. The master smiled. "Yes, but most people are never truly with themselves, even when they eat or sleep." So, being your own companion is not about doing grand things. It is about doing small things with great attention. When you eat, taste the food. When you walk, feel your steps. When you feel joy or pain, be there fully. You are building trust with yourself. You are saying, "I won't leave myself anymore." Think of how you treat a child. Gently, kindly, patiently. You must treat yourself the same. If the child falls, you pick them up. You don't shout, "Why did you fall?" You say, "It's okay, I'm here." That voice, you must learn to use it on yourself. Most of our suffering comes from self-rejection. We carry old words, old scars, old shame. But if you look closely, you'll see those were never truly yours. Someone else gave them to you. And now, you have the power to put them down. One by one, slowly, kindly, just like a tired traveler removes stones from their bag. Becoming your own companion means stopping the war inside your heart. It means no longer comparing, blaming, hating, or punishing yourself. It means choosing peace, again and again. Even when the world outside is full of noise, you carry silence within. And this silence becomes your strength. There will still be moments when you feel weak, days when doubts return. That's okay. You're not trying to be a robot. You're trying to be real. And being real means you feel everything, but you don't abandon yourself in the process. You stay. You breathe. You hold your own hand. Do you know the most beautiful thing about walking alone? Is that you hear your own footsteps. You begin to realize you are not empty. You are deep. You are not lacking. You are learning. You are not broken. You are building. Slowly, gently, quietly. The world may never understand this journey, They may still say, "Why are you always alone?" Let them ask. You don't have to answer. Your peace is your answer. Your glow is your answer. Your calm eyes, your steady breath, your soft smile, they will say everything. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree alone. No one clapped when he reached enlightenment. No one posted it online. No one celebrated it. But the light that came from him, it still touches the world today. That's the power of someone who has learned to sit with themselves. That's the power you are building. In the end, remember this. You are not on this path to escape the world. You are on this path to meet yourself so deeply that no storm can shake you again. People may come and go, but you will remain rooted, still, alive. So, as you move forward, keep walking with yourself. Speak kindly. Rest deeply. Laugh softly. Cry when needed. Celebrate the small things. And above all, never forget, you are not alone when you are with yourself. This part of your journey is sacred. You are not just surviving. You are awakening. Stay with yourself. The most important person in your life is not someone out there. It is you. Now let's take a breath and move gently into the next step of the journey. You are ready. Walk alone. Shine bright. The final truth of freedom. You have come far, my friend. From a first uncomfortable silence to this final breath of peace. You've walked through the confusion, the pain, the noise inside your head. And now, you're here, at the edge of something truly beautiful. So listen carefully, not just with your ears, but with your whole being. Let these words sit in your heart like still water in a quiet pond. In the beginning, walking alone felt like being lost. Now it feels like being found. You see, everyone starts with fear. Fear of being left out. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of having no one to lean on. But slowly, gently, through silence, you learn to lean on something far deeper, your own center. You stopped chasing voices outside and started listening to the whisper within. That whisper, that quiet truth, has always been your greatest guide. Being alone is no longer your weakness. It has become your power. Now, you do not beg for company. You choose it when it brings peace, and you walk away when it brings noise. You are not bitter. You are not angry. You simply know your worth. You do not need to explain yourself to those who don't try to understand. You've seen that some connections were not real. They were habits, distractions, illusions. And letting go was not loss, it was lightness. Remember what the Buddhist said, be a lamp unto yourself. You're that lamp now. You walk into your day not needing approval, not chasing attention. You give love without fear. You receive silence without discomfort. You enjoy the sunrise without needing to post about it. You laugh alone, it feels real. You cry alone, and it feels healing. Your soul has become your best friend. People often ask, but don't you get lonely? And the Zen answer is, loneliness is the absence of others. Aloneness is the presence of yourself. You have chosen presence. And now, the silence no longer frightens you. It feeds you. It reminds you that even when everyone leaves, something sacred stays, the stillness that cannot be taken away. You now understand, real strength is not loud. It's quiet. It's not in showing the world how fine you are. It's in knowing deeply that you are okay, even when no one's watching. Most people live their entire lives trying to fill a space within them with noise, with people, with things. But you have made peace with the space itself. That is rare. That is powerful. So now, you don't just survive solitude. You shine in it. You wake up and your first thought isn't, what do they think of me? But how do I feel today? You go on walks without needing company. You create without asking for applause. You rest without guilt. You work from love, not fear. And this is not arrogance. It is self-understanding. You stop being addicted to reaction. You observe more, judge less. You talk less but mean more. You don't speak to fill silence. You speak when silence asks for your voice. This freedom is not what the world told you it would look like. It's not a perfect house, a long list of friends, or constant celebration. It's sitting under a tree, feeling the wind, hearing your own breath, and smiling for no reason. It's peace that doesn't depend on plans. Do you see now? Solitude was never your enemy. It was your teacher. It taught you how to wait, not just for others, but for clarity. It taught you that peace comes not when everything is perfect, but when you stop needing everything to be perfect. It taught you that your company is enough. And once you learn that, every other company becomes a choice, not a need. When you walk into a room, you no longer feel like a guest. You carry your space with you. You are home, wherever you go. Now, here's something important to remember. The world will still try to pull you back. It will whisper, you need to keep up, you need to be seen, you're missing out. But you have heard a deeper voice now. And that voice says, slow down. Come back. Sit. Breathe. Be. That voice is your anchor. Never lose it. The journey of walking alone never ends. There will always be moments of doubt, moments of ache. But now you know how to sit with them. You don't push them away. You invite them in. And in doing so, they lose their power over you. You don't need to run anymore. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to be anything other than who you are, right here, right now. The world around you may never change, but the world within you has already transformed. Now let me say one last thing. You have watched, you have listened, you have opened your heart, and for that, I'm deeply grateful. But remember, there's so many views on this channel, wisdom woven, and only 0.2% subscribe. So if these words have touched even a corner of your spirit, if you feel a little stronger, a little lighter, or a little more at peace, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Support this journey and help others begin theirs. Let this not be the end, but the beginning of your own silent revolution. Walk alone, not in sadness, not in fear, but in full light. And let that light speak without words. Because now, you don't just walk alone, you walk free.